Welcome, everyone. And I'm Hector Del Castillo, Chief Product Officer at Bold PM. And tonight's sponsor is Infragistics. They're actually joining us virtually. And so you'll be able to see everybody, the three people, when they start presenting. And I just want to make sure that at least we have some brief introductions and announcements. So Infragistics is tonight's sponsor. Also, I want to acknowledge Make Offices, and they're actually the place that allows us to gather here in this conference room. And we normally will meet here once a month on the first Thursday of the month. If you're on Twitter, these are the hashtags to be using. We're going to be talking about Reveal, which is the newest embedded analytics platform from Infragistics, and that's hashtag Reveal BI. Also, our Meetups hashtag, which is BIDC, Business Intelligentsia BC. Embedded analytics hashtag as well, and the business intelligence hashtag if you want to share. And the handle for Infragistics is Infragistics, and you can also use mine. We can reshare or retweet anything that you might be sharing, and feel free to take pictures and share as well. So without further ado, I'd like to actually introduce now our panelists, and our panelists are joining, and actually the webcams are showing. And I would like to introduce everyone from Infragistics, who's tonight's sponsor, and they will be discussing their latest embedded analytics platform, which is called Reveal. And they're going to be showing us how you can actually very quickly turn any mobile application or any enterprise application and add on as an SDK toolkit. You can actually start putting together visualizations very quickly and allow the users to actually pick and choose whatever visualizations they like the most. And that's what they'll be doing. So really the topic for today is how to create awesome embedded data visualizations using Reveal. And I'd like to introduce to you Casey and Jason, as well as Brian. They'll be joining us, and you see them online. How are you doing, guys?
Great, thank you. Thank you for having us remotely.
All right. Also, what I wanted to do is, if you haven't checked in, this short URL is the web form. And as Jason mentioned earlier, if you check in, you can actually check in on a web form, and you automatically are entered into a database so that they can actually contact you with the information of how you can actually get a free license of Reveal, which they're offering to everybody that's part of our meetup. And the only thing is just make sure you check in, so at least they can send you the link where you can actually download or get started with your free license. And that information is also on the board, by the way. The short URLs are on the board as well. So Jason, this is your slide, so take it away.
All right, thank you. So yeah, thanks everyone for having us. We're sorry we couldn't be there in person, but our company changed policies 2 days ago. Out of the virus scare, so everyone's kind of avoiding travel for a few weeks. But anyway, my name's Jason Barris. I run the product teams at Infragistics. With us tonight is Casey McGuigan, who is the product owner and product manager of Reveal, and Brian Lagunas as well. He is a senior product owner and does a lot of stuff with Reveal around the SDK, the API design, and other things. So you've got everything you would ever need to know about this product. The three of us collectively should be able to answer. So we're excited to show this to you tonight. And you have our emails and the slides that were passed out. But yep, you can go to the next slide. And I'll just quickly run through Infragistics. We've been around for 30 years. Our anniversary was last year. We have thousands, over 1 million customers actually across our developer tools and our business solutions. And really our goal is to really build beautiful and simple software that helps you be more productive, be it with embedded analytics, productivity, or developer productivity. So you can go to the.
Where are you guys headquartered at, Jason?
Oh yeah, we're headquartered in Cranberry, New Jersey. So we were literally about a 2-hour train ride away. So that's why it would have been so convenient to come. But we're pretty close. We're about an hour outside of New York, about an hour outside of Philly, kind of right in the middle of central Jersey.
Perfect. And I think that I got ahead of you because you do have it here in your slides.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Look at that. We've got a bunch of locations. So we're not a big company, we're a small company, but we have been around a long time. So we do have a bunch of different offices that serve different purposes. So for example, New Jersey, we do software development, sales, it's where all the executives are. London, we have sales. Tokyo, we have sales, technical support, we have consulting services. Bulgaria, we have software development. India, sales and technical consulting for customers. Uruguay, we have development teams. Melville, Long Island, we have development teams. So we're scattered all over the place. And really the reason for these offices in New York, New Jersey, London, India, Japan is really around supporting customers. So we do have a lot of big enterprise customers, and those are basically where they're at as well. So we tried to globally distribute.
Yeah, we're going to have to update that slide. We're missing the Boise office.
Oh, yeah. Brian is coming to us from Boise. You're right. Boise, Idaho, if you can believe it. And it's very famous for potatoes, amongst other things. So thank you, Brian, for joining us from Boise. So the next slide, yeah, just has a bunch of customers. This is the obligatory important customer list. You can fast forward on this guy to the next slide. And then so the way we're going to do this tonight is Casey's going to do a demo of the Reveal app, and that's what everyone's going to get a free copy of tonight. It is a SaaS-based product as well as a desktop product, and it allows you to do all of the BI and analytics capabilities that you could imagine. And then Brian is going to show how we created an SDK for that product, and he's going to show you how to embed that into a WPF application or a web application through our API. So that's kind of where we're unique. We actually built this product as a purpose-built SDK for Embed. We didn't like say, hey, let's build a web product, then just let people pass around hyperlinks to do iframes. So hopefully that will come through in the demo tonight and you'll be able to see that. But I just have a few statistics. We did a survey about maybe 4 or 5 months ago across a wide variety of users, developers, product managers, analytics users. And I just wanted to share some of this data with you guys. Many of you are very seasoned in this space. Hector, obviously, this is your life. So a lot of these numbers will probably resonate with you. But one of the things we ask customers is, what is the main reason for embedding analytics in your application? And we hear this over and over. It really is about improving customer satisfaction. So one of the things we hear a lot is people are looking to modernize their applications, be it legacy desktop apps or web apps, with BI and analytics. So using an embedded SDK came out as one of the top reasons people are looking to embed analytics in their app. And of course, you can see some of the other ones: more robust, visually appealing analytics, competitive advantage, and then cut costs over trying to build it yourself. And of course, build versus buy is a very big discussion when it comes to embedded analytics. We have a few white papers on our site, but anyway, you can fast forward to the next slide. And I think I have like 4 or 5 slides about just some survey numbers. This was interesting. Which of these do you currently embed in your software? And the funny thing is, it wasn't like a pick one. It was, multiple choice question. But here, everyone is doing some level of reporting. And what we call like this sort of phase 1 BI or embedded analytics is really reports, right? It's not interactive. It's not self-service. But it was funny. I was in Japan. We actually launched Reveal in Japan last year, and we had this big event, and the press was there, and they were so confused. They were like, wait a minute. We've had embedded analytics in Japan for 20 years. Why is this so revolutionary and different? And they didn't quite get the fact of, the user looking at a static report versus being able to interact with data, get better insights, and just really have this dashboard experience of data, and then being able to drill down, and then obviously with us being able to embed that in an application. So that's kind of a funny story, but really the analytics has evolved so much in the last 5 years, maybe 7 years, that now if you don't have some sort of dashboarding, your customers are probably asking for it in some way or another. All right, Hector, go to the next slide, please. How long have you been embedding analytics? And this is one of those analytics being reports or analytics being really embedded dashboards. So we didn't have a little subtitle in the question, but 5 years or more is what 25% of the folks said. But what we're seeing for the most part in the market is that everyone's racing to do some sort of dashboard or give their users some better way of getting insights in their data. And a lot of it is not just like, you know, at Infragistics, our marketing department, for example, they're pulling in data from Google Analytics, from Marketo, from CRM, and that is to operationalize a bunch of disparate data sources into meaningful dashboards. But there's also a lot of applications out there like ERPs and just CRMs where people are collecting a lot of information in a singular application that they need to now pull out and then help their users make more decisions. So we're seeing a lot of that on the embedded analytics side. So it's getting pretty interesting with those types of capabilities. All right, let's go to the next slide. And what are your business reasons? Number one, make better business decisions. We hear this all the time. You know, the biggest driver when you talk to an executive about why do they want some sort of analytics and BI dashboarding solution, it's to be either create a data-driven culture or to get their users to make better decisions faster. And we'll go to the next slide, which I think might be the last question. What are the types of applications where you embed analytics? Of course, ERP, CRM, marketing automation. One of our bigger customers, they are a big ERP, and they're a Japanese customer. And what they do is they have you know, thousands of users or thousands of customers that could potentially have anywhere from 5 to a couple hundred, few hundred users. So there's a lot of data getting collected. So not only are they doing embedded analytics for the users of a particular tenant of that application, but they can also then sell data like trends and other cleansed data to all of their customers through surveys, reports, etc. So there's a lot of benefits to look at these in an embedded scenario. All right, let's go to the next slide. So conclusions. People want to make better business decisions, and they want embedded analytics, hopefully with Reveal. The technology is gaining broader acceptance. 46% of the folks we talk to are new to this or planning embedded analytics, and the embedded analytics market will increase at a faster and faster rate. What Gartner says is, I think right now it's embedded or BI in general, and Casey, correct me if I'm wrong, is like about a $25 billion market space. The embedded analytics is around $1 billion, $1.5 billion market space with 20% compounded growth. So we're talking, you know, in the next 5-7 years, this space just explodes. And then, of course, just the data and analytics side, they start to include cloud analytics, artificial intelligence, all these other things. So you guys are already in the right space. You have this meetup in this user group, and it's already like the hottest thing in the market today. So it's really interesting how this market is really exploding and growing. And the embedded analytics space where Reveal lives is getting there as well. So let's go to the next slide, which I believe is going to, just a couple marketing pieces. You can go to the next slide to where it says demo, and I will let the product speak for itself. Casey can take over, and she's going to do a demo of this now, and then Brian will do a demo of embedding the dashboards that she creates in a separate application. So Casey, you can take it away.
Perfect. So I stopped sharing so you can actually share your screen, Casey.
Okay, you can hear me right still?
Yes.
All right, and then if you can just let me know that you can see my screen.
Not yet. Now there's something coming. Oh, there we go. Yep.
All right.
Now we see it.
Cool. Okay, so as Jason mentioned, I'm gonna demo the application of Reveal, but everything that you see in this demo is embedded within the Reveal SDK as well. So all this functionality of creating and editing right from within your own applications with embedded analytics is available to you through our app as well. Same experience, every device, so it's pretty sick. So what I did was I kind of created this demo dashboard, just so you can get a glimpse of a full dashboard, the different visualizations that we support. get a feel for like the different filters as well. So we have 3 levels of filtering. Up here, you're looking at the dashboard level filtering, or I can have a filter at my visualization level that would appear here, or in the back end in the data. So as a creator, I don't want people to view specific fields, or maybe here I don't want them to see specific territories. I could filter that on the editor. We have some different capabilities as a viewer. So I can actually expand this line chart here, and using some of our interactions, you can change your chart type just as a viewer. And what we do is part of our simple and beautiful and easy to use is, depending on the data that you have in your editor, we're only going to serve you up specific visualizations. So here in particular, we wouldn't serve you up a pie chart, for example, because it doesn't work with the data that you have behind the scenes. So if I'm just going to switch one here, I can change this to a line chart, or to an area chart, and then back again. And then most recently, we just released these statistical functions. So with just a few quick clicks, I can perform a time series forecast, linear regression, or outlier detection. So quickly looking at the outlier detection, you can see we detected one in March. It being that the data is so low, it is the 5th day, as well as linear regression. So a regression along with kind of forecasting into the future. So if I wanted to forecast 4 periods ahead, you can see that we added the regression line here, and we forecasted to April, May, June, and July. And then similarly for your time series forecast, you can pick your season length. So let's do 6, as well as the periods ahead that I want to forecast. So if now I wanted to forecast, let's say 6 months, you can see that animation change, and you can see the confidence level of the range for that particular forecast. And then as a creator of these dashboards, I can either, I'll show you in the editor where these are so they can be visible for your viewer when they first come in, or just as a viewer, you have these different level interactions. Some other interactions are we do support, you can see like the hover tooltip that I did have going, but we also have the ability to turn on crosshairs. Those look pretty nice. So you can see the different crosshairs here on the line chart. Let me just toggle them off. And then we have kind of 2 different levels of drill down. So you have your traditional drill down that I created one here in this donut chart, where in the Americas territory, I'm just going to drill down, and I think I have it by sales rep. So there's a lot of fields in there, so it doesn't look as nice. But you can see just drilling down quickly, I can expand this and even do this for the, let's see, the Japan territory as well. And then I can drill back up with the breadcrumb or with the tooltip as well. But then we have this concept of dashboard linking that kind of takes drill down to a different level. So here I have like an overview dashboard, and this bottom visualization here is a stacked column, and it's looking at my new sales by product. And for, let's see, December, it looks like the product C is kind of low. So I kind of want to look into that more. So what I did was I have the series on this chart links out to a totally different dashboard. So when I click on the series or the product C, it'll bring me to this dashboard, and it's already filtered for that product that I clicked on. And I'll show you how easy it is to make these connections between the 2 dashboards. But it's pretty powerful. Like if you have an overall dashboard and then you want to drill into data, back up quickly, it's really easy. We actually have some clients that also use it as like a landing page launch point. They might pull in images, and they can launch into different dashboards from those images as well.
In this instance, can you actually move around things in this dashboard?
Yes. So you mean like the visualizations themselves, like this?
Yes. Yeah. So basically, I was looking at how responsive can you take some of like the bar graph on the bottom and make it to go to the top and switch places.
Yeah. So you have full range of wherever you're moving.
Any user can do this inside the app once it's implemented. Is that correct?
Yep, as long as, so we have like a level of, in the app, a level of permissions as well. So as long as you have the right level of permissions, you can move these around very easily.
Got it. So there are privileges, and it's based on the privileges of the user.
Yeah, so if I go to say, share this with somebody, and you can see that I've shared this with Jason, Brian, and Phil before. But I can change the level of permissions that they have. So whether they're an owner, modifier, or viewer. So those are the 3 levels that we have right now.
Got it.
Mm-hmm. We also have a number of export options. So you can export an image. So you can export a full image of your dashboard or just one single visualization, PowerPoint, PDF, Excel, and the dashboard file. The PowerPoint one's actually pretty cool. So if I need to maybe present this to Jason or something in a meeting, or maybe to like the board or something, I'm just gonna export a PowerPoint, and what I can do is I can select which visualizations I want to export, and then I can actually add my title of my slides, a description. I can add my own branding, so my company color, my company logo, and then I can even annotate these right from within here. So if I use this little annotate icon down here, we have some different options here. So this is some text. Make this a little wider, and then I can add like an arrow or something as well. And then you can see in the preview there that the annotation is in the image, and all of that will export. Yes, what I was going to do next was take you through kind of creating some of these that you are actually seeing here. Sorry. Just coming right up here to the Add Dashboard button. And now I'm prompted to select my data source. So we have a number of data sources for you right out of the box, as well as supporting REST API and in-memory data. But you can see a few here, like Google Analytics, Microsoft Analysis Services. You can see the REST API, your typical Google Drives, SharePoint, etc. I am going to use, I have a sample Excel file in my OneDrive, so I'm just going to use that. And then you can see the different sheets in my Excel file. So I have some names for them, and we pull in the names of your sheets, so it's easy for you to tell which ones they are. You can even preview your data. And then let's see, I'll just pull in this sales one. And then now this is the visualization editor. So on the left-hand side, you see all of my fields within my data source. We have settings for each different chart type. Here's where I would either click to add my fields or a simple drag and drop. Changing my charts up here. And then we also have calculated fields that you can create some functions based off of the fields that you have in your data, as well as blending data from another data source. So if I had my budget numbers in an Excel file and my actual sales numbers in a sales cube, I can combine them really easily in here, just mapping one field and pulling the other fields in. So let's see, one of my charts was a combo chart. And you can see as I changed that chart, the values in this field here changed. So we will let you know exactly what fields you need for each visualization. So for a donut, you need a label and a value, which is different than what you need for a combo. So I'm going to use my date as my label. We can just do leads and use seats. And then I'm going to change my date really quickly to be from year to month. And here's where I can add that date, the data level filter. Here's where I could add the visualization level filter, but I'm going to add one actually at the dashboard level. So if I hit date field, and all I have to do now is hit connect, and it linked right to the date field that I have in my Excel file. So I'll create that and change it to use last 365 days. And that was, I mean, pretty quick, my first visualization in a few quick clicks. I can either come up here and add a new one, pick a different data source, use the same data that I was using, or I could also just duplicate this visualization here and edit and go right into the editor. The one pie chart I had, I can show you the hierarchy for that very quickly. So let's use new sales, and I can use territory, and then we automatically populate this add hierarchy field. So that would be for your drill down. And then I'll add products because it'll probably be a little nicer. Sales by territory. And then let's just add that last one too, so I can show you the dashboard linking. So I'll come up here to my data source for sales, and I'm going to do a stacked column. And you can also see the other visualizations we have. We have your grids, your category charts, gauges, scatter and bubble, financial, and other. And then we also support custom visualization. So if we don't have one right for you out of the box, we support that as well as R and Python scripting. So if you're an R Python developer, you can copy and paste or connect to your scripts right from in here and pull in your visualizations. So I'm going to change this to month and use just some leads and by product. And then in the settings, we have the links for each chart down here. So I'm just going to add a link, and I can either link, I can actually link out to a URL too. So if I'm looking at a sales dashboard and I want to link out to a specific URL in my CRM, I can do that here as well. So I'm going to link to that dashboard that I showed you, which is this one here. And then the filters that map to the data source I'm using pop up automatically right here, and all I have to do is hit connect. And those two are connected now. You can see the links for the different products there. This was based by product maybe. And then that one doesn't look connected, so I can just come up here and connect it. And then I'm just going to change the theme. So we have a number of themes out of the box here, and we're actually doing some theme updates next month, as well as adding some new chart types and data source connectors. So we release every 4 to 8 weeks, trying to always add new things into the product, try to do a few data sources and chart types each month, which is nice. So my favorite's this Rocky Mountain theme. It's going to give my dashboard a name. And then once I'm ready, I'm just going to save it. So you can see for the app version, we do have a concept of teams in there. So you can see all the different teams that I'm a part of, which is a lot, inside our organization. So if I wanted to save this to my organization repository or to a specific team, I could do that here, but I'm just going to leave it here for my personal. And then when I close this, you can see it's right here. And then if I wanted to, I could then share it off with somebody. I could favorite it. And then we have the option to move it. So if I was working on this, didn't want anyone to see it yet, I could then move it to a team or the org. And I think that's really it from my side. I don't know if there were any other questions or
You guys have
wanted
any
to hand it
questions?
over to Brian.
Like access level, like this, I see here, like Cassie, you mentioned that you have you can control the access where the person can move or modify.
Yeah, how do you control the axis, the X and Y, or can you do like multi-dimensional implementations when you're looking at more than just two axes?
Yeah, my question is like around row level security, like, you know, like within org you have 5 people and one person cannot see
The other
person two's data, how they're controlling that kind of security or access.
Yeah, do you create any controls for obscuring when some of the information is not owned by a different function?
Yeah, so I think, Brian, you could talk about how we do that. Through the SDK, you're able to only show specific views for specific users. But in the app, we have those 3 levels of permissions, as well as if I don't have access to the data source, I can't see anything. So I think I have access. I mean, I have access to all the ones that I just showed that I have on here. But if maybe this one's not connected. I would get something like this if I didn't have access.
Got it. So you don't necessarily need to see, you don't get to see something that you don't have access to.
Right, and I would need to configure this, and if I didn't have the right credentials, it would never populate any numbers or data.
Good question.
Got it.
Yeah. So in the just to clarify, in the app, we don't do any level of security beyond the dashboard level.
Mm-hmm.
And so everything from your data source will flow through. So if your user doesn't have, if there's row level security and, you know, Casey's logged in and she's using her domain authentication, the security passes through and she just won't see whatever data she's not allowed to see even within that data source.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Okay. That's another question here.
Can you talk a little more about what kind of data sources you can connect to? Like, do you connect to databases? Are you using like reports from an application, or how does the data source side work?
So I can connect right to any Microsoft analysis services. We added in, if I think you're still seeing my screen, the Microsoft Azure SQL database, and all of these right out of the box. But then we also support REST API, that with a API URL, you can connect right to any data source that it supports.
All right. Okay.
Any other questions? How many do you like? I couldn't even count, but how many do you have of those connectors already supported today?
I think about 20. Last time I
it's
counted.
quite a bit.
Yeah, and we're always adding. So in like 2 weeks, we're gonna add in Salesforce, and then the month after, we're gonna do I think Marketo and QuickBooks. So we're constantly adding to the list.
Got it. Okay.
And one of the features that we also have is the ability to connect to Google, Azure, or AWS for machine learning models. So if you have pre-trained models, what happens is when you create the dashboard, you can apply the model to your data source and then get that field result back and then put it into your dashboard. So we also support machine learning beyond the statistical functions.
Yeah, thank you. I forgot that.
And we have another question. Hold on.
It looks like your data needs to be aggregated, like underneath database, in the database, or like volume wise I'm talking. Let's say you are pulling the data from Oracle somewhere and you have 6-7 tables sitting there. So how much volume it can handle, or do we need to aggregate data there itself so that shouldn't be any performance issue or
Is there a limit to how many like streams of data you have and where they're coming from? Like if they have different connectors, that some are in Google Drive, others in Box, others in QuickBooks. Do you have any benchmarks on how many of those connectors you can actively be using for a visualization like this?
No, and Jason, do you remember off the top of your head the demo that Martin did that showed how quick that amount of data pulled?
Yeah, so that's a great question because it varies based on the data source.
Yeah.
But like, for example, Google BigQuery, what we try to do with our data connectors is optimize them for whatever server side they're connecting to. So Google BigQuery, you have potentially hundreds of millions of rows, terabytes of data. We did a test. It was 17 million rows, and it returned the data that we needed in less than like 30, 40 seconds, aggregated. Now, if I'm going across the pipe to an Oracle database and I'm doing a join through our functions, it's going to be a lot slower than if you've done some pre-aggregation or you have a view already set up on the server. So we don't really have any published benchmarks, but we do. Our goal here from the app perspective is that you don't need to suck in IT to start using this product. So a lot of DBAs can just say, hey, I'm going to create a view and I can start getting data. Now on the embedded side, it's a little bit different. The embedded side, for the most part, you have an application that already has data displayed in data grids and other screens. What we do is we have an in-memory data source, which just allows you to take your data, shove it in our in-memory data source, and then apply it to the dashboard. So there's really no cost to that except the client-side process. And Brian will show a little bit of that today. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea. We do appreciate it the more you aggregate on the server, though.
I'll also add that each of these individual visualizations in a dashboard, they all load asynchronously individually. So you may have one dashboard hitting one data source that comes back super quick. So when you load your dashboard, that one's like right there. But let's say you're doing a big data and you're trying to get 17 million records. Well, the other visualization is going to show like a little spinner while the other ones load up. So they're all independently loading asynchronously, and the data is made available as soon as we have them. So you're not going to experience any type of UI lag or freezing or anything like that. And that goes for not only the web-based app, but also in the embedded story.
Perfect. Great. Casey, is Brian next?
Yep, Brian, you're on.
Yes. All right. I like this part. This is code. How many developers do we have in the audience who actually write code? Anybody?
There's the majority in the room are developers. So.
Oh, okay. So you guys, we saved the best for last. We saved the best for last. Let me share my screen here. Let me know when you can see my big face.
There we go. Yep. We see you.
All right. I felt a little left out because I didn't have a picture on the slide, so I created my own. My name is Brian Lagunas. I am the senior product owner here at Infragistics. I've been here for about 8 or 9 years now. As Jason said, I kind of do everything here. And I thought
you were going to do an emoji.
Oh, no. I'm also a Microsoft MVP, and I am very involved in the developer community. So be sure to follow me on Twitter. I post a lot of technical videos on YouTube. And every Tuesday and Thursday, I stream live on Twitch where I live code different technologies and things that we're all learning about. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But now let's get to some WPF embedding. So what I went ahead and done is I have a WPF application, a .NET 7.2, whatever I think it's 7.2, 4.7.2 application. And I went ahead and added the NuGet packages to Reveal, because if you ever use NuGet, you know how you got to sit there and wait for it to find all its dependencies, and it takes like a minute. So I just went ahead and did that. Essentially, what you're going to want to do, the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to revealbi.io and click on this download SDK, okay? Everyone can do this tonight. And then you're going to fill this form out and you're going to install the SDK. And when you do that, it's going to create a package source called Infragistics Local. And so when you switch to that package source and you browse, you'll see that the Infragistics.reveal.sdk.wpf.trial is in there. Select that, add it to your project, you're ready to rock and roll. Another thing I want to point out is that if you go to github.com/revealbi, I don't know how to use the chat thing here. Oh, wait. Is there a QA? I guess there's no chat in Zoom. That's interesting. Oh, wait, here it is.
Yes, there is, yes.
All right, so I went ahead and posted a link in there. If you wouldn't mind sharing that later with everyone.
Will do.
But it's essentially what this is, it is a hands-on lab for you to go ahead and walk through step by step. It has all the assets. If we look at this, we're going to see a couple of dashboards and an Excel file that has your data. We have some instructions. So if you go into the instructions and go through the step by step, it's going to walk you through everything you need to do to get started and be successful with this. And we have a couple of different samples here for you. Okay, just wanted to point that out. So now, the first step was we download, install, and we have our WPF application, right? We added the NuGet package. Next, we need to define the UI portion that's going to host all these cool dashboards. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new namespace called BI, and this is going to be a reveal view. And I'm going to use the Visual Studio quick action to go ahead and add my namespace automatically. I'm going to give it a name. I'll name it whatever I want. I'll call it reveal view. And we're done with the UI. Pretty cool, right? That's all we have to do for the UI portion. Now, the next step would be to actually start loading dashboards. To do this, I always like to do this in the loaded event of the window. You don't have to, but I recommend it. The first step is we need a DV dashboard instance. Let's just add our using statement there. Right, we'll create a dashboard variable here, and I'm gonna set it to null initially. And then the last thing is really to the bare minimum. Bare minimum is I'm gonna set the settings equal to a new instance of reveal settings, passing in our dashboard. Okay, nothing too fancy, but at this point, right now, we can go ahead and run the application. We don't have any dashboards yet, but we can see that the Reveal embedded SDK is functional, right? We don't have any data sources, so if I go add visualization, there's no data sources to choose from, nothing set up, but at a bare minimum, that's all it takes, right there, right? Now, we actually want to load some dashboards. So I'm going to create a new folder in here. I'm going to call this dashboards, right? Lucky guess. And then from that assets folder that I showed you earlier, to save time, I'm just going to go ahead and copy in the two dashboards we're going to be working with in this sample. And I'm going to add those to my project, right click, include, and set the properties to, what am I going to set this to? I think it's to content. Yes, that's what I'm looking for. Copy if newer. And all this is going to do is it's going to make sure that these files are copied to disk when I build my project. So now what I want to do is I want to use these dashboards. I want to load the dashboard. The first dashboard I'm going to load is going to be the marketing dashboard. So I'm going to create a path. And don't lowercase that. Let's add system.io. I think it's in environment, if I remember correctly. Yep, that's it. Environment.current directory. And I'm going to combine that with the path of where these are going to be copied to. And since I set it as content, I know it's going to be dashboards slash marketing.r dash. That's the name of the file, right? As long as I don't have any typos in there, we should be good there. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to open a stream. Okay, so actually, we're going to go, we'll call it stream equals file dot, what is it, open read? Yep, open read. We're going to pass in our path. Now that we have our stream, it's time to create our new dashboard. Now, keep in mind, this is a V1. We are improving this API because the more we use it, the more we learn, we can do better. And so what I'm showing you now is actually going to be slightly different when we do an update. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, okay, so I'm going to, that's an awaitable method. So I'm going to add my async await. Now I'm going to load my dashboard. And that's all there is to it. Let's now run the application. And here's the dashboard. That's all the data. And what's really cool about this is we have our filters, right? All that's the same. We could still come in here. We can add our regressions and our time series and everything that we did before, right? Everything that you did online that you saw Casey demo, you have access to in your embedded application now. Everything. We could change your visualization type. You can even come in here and edit the widget itself, select your different data, like everything you could do on the web, boom, embedded right in your native application. Pretty sick, right? I mean, that's, that's pretty cool. And it's really easy. Now, we're not done. We're not done because, you know, Casey showed some linking, some dashboard linking, right? Well, you don't get that for free when you're embedded, right? Because we're no longer in the context of an application that has this logic that handles that deep linking for you. So we have to do that in our application. However, I am using a dashboard here that it's ready for that. It's ready to link. So we're going to go ahead and implement that. And implementing this is pretty simple, right? So we'll say Reveal View, Visualization Linking Dashboard. I don't care what it's called. And then I'm going to do a little copy and paste here because I'm a developer and I'm a little lazy. It's just what we do, right? So I'm going to change the path to campaigns. And then I want to grab, see, how do I want to do this? Do I want to, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. I'll copy this because that's the same, but I'm not going to do that. Now, we're inside this event handler, and this event handler has a callback method. In this case, we're going to pass the ID of the, whoops, if I can spell, of the dashboard, and then we're going to pass the stream that we just created, right? That's it. That's all we got to do. So let's run this again. Here's our dashboard. We do all that cool stuff. And now I actually have this option to link. So when I click this link, I can now see some a tooltip with some information about it. And now I can open the campaigns and boom, I am now linked into the other dashboard. We get all that great functionality that we would expect on the web, except once again, we are embedded inside our native application. That's it. I mean, literally, that's how easy it is. Now, like I said, this is a V1. And in the next release, you see all this work right here, all that work, this will all be down to one line of code, okay? So this is gonna get even easier for you as we update. Because we just, you know, we get feedback from a lot of customers, we play with it, and if you've ever written a public API for millions of people, you get lots of feedback, right? And we're gonna listen to that feedback and improve this API with every release. That's all I had to share with you today. Are there any questions?
Any question from developers on how to do this?
I mean, I know I made it look easy. I mean,
Well, you make it easy because you know what you're doing. All right. Somebody who has no clue goes in here, and all of a sudden it's not so easy, right?
well, that's not entirely true. I do have a hands-on lab that walks you through everything. And hold on, bear with me. We have documentation, right? So we can come in here, right? Desktop API, loading dashboard files, copy, paste, right? Configuring the reveal view object, editing and saving, like all this, it's all there for you. You just got to copy and paste it. And I will also be doing videos, instructional videos on how to do this as soon as we get the API a little closer to where we want it.
And in general,
you're gonna embed those into your knowledge base as well, the videos?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, got it.
And just for the folks in the room, the workflow to do this is we have obviously the web app that Casey demoed. We have a desktop app, which is a WPF version. The workflow is that, you know, like if you're going to embed the product, there's two ways to let people build dashboards. They can build them themselves through the data source chooser, or you can just pass data within the app, or you provide in your app a bunch of dashboards already built. And so really the workflow is, let's say you're connecting to Oracle, Marketo, and Google Analytics, and you're creating a bunch of dashboards. You as the, you know, the app developer would create a series of dashboards. Then you would save those dashboards into that R- file, which is, campaigns.r- or whatever. And then those dashboards are distributed as a resource in your app, or you can suck them in as a file stream from the web. But in the SDK, you're actually just using our in-memory data source and applying data to those dashboards based on people that are already logged into your app. They already have access to stuff. And so it's really easy to achieve a pretty, a cool experience with a limited amount of effort on your part if you want to embed dashboards in your app with that type of a workflow.
Yeah, and all I did to create those dashboards is I logged into the web app and I exported the dashboard. It saved the R- file locally, and I just named it and copied it into my folder. I mean, that's all I had to do. I created it on the web and exported it to embed in my application. And so, I mean, looking into the future of the API, this is essentially what you're going to have to do. You'll just say settings, reveal settings, and path, or stream, depending on if you're getting it from a resource or something. So we're going to have that to one line of code very soon.
And you guys are using an agile approach in the way you add functionality to your API?
Oh, definitely. We are a continuous development, continuous integration, all that great stuff. We have a CI pipeline. We have nightly builds that you can have access to. Like if I say, hey, we just did this really cool feature, you can actually download a nightly build and play with it.
Nice. Very nice.
And I love feedback. So if anyone starts using this on the developer side, I love feedback, especially the kind that really just tears into my skin and you just let me have it, like really frank, this sucks feedback. I love that kind of feedback.
How do you embed into web applications?
How do you support web applications?
So on the website, we actually have a server SDK and a client SDK. And so you will use those, depending on if you're on the server or on the client, to implement the functionality that you require. And so it's very similar to what you see here. The only difference is where this code invokes. Anything to do with loading dashboards and authentication and things like that, that code will invoke on the server. It will send those callbacks back to the client, and then your client code will handle that. It's very easy. And when you install the SDK through the installer, it will actually install the web samples as well, so you can actually see that.
Great, thanks. Any other questions? Dan, I thought you had something earlier.
Well, it was partly answered by the other question. My question was whether it was compatible with like Kafka style event streams.
Is it compatible with like Kafka style event streams?
I am not familiar with Kafka style event streams.
It's not directly related to decoding. It was more appropriate for the previous.
Oh, so it's for the previous one. I think Kafka is for data location, right? Location-based data.
Stream analytics.
Oh, for stream analytics.
It pops up. Yeah.
Like
real-time analytics. You get a stream of data. You kind of forward an aggregated view on top of that.
It's related to how fast.
Okay.
How fast it is.
Got it. Yeah, he was asking about how fast it actually renders when you're actually grabbing data and you have a lot of information. So I think Jason had covered that information earlier. So any other questions? Brian, thanks very much. Who's next?
That was it. I can actually, if you guys want, just to give you an idea of what the roadmap looks like here, let me share this this screen, and it's might be a little tiny for you. Let me boost it up a little bit. But to give you an idea of what we're doing here, Brian mentioned our delivery. We're delivering about monthly in terms of features and bug fixes. Then we just have like these major milestones where we're trying to ship a collection of features from a marketing campaign and, based on customer demand and a few other things. So back in February, we shipped all of this stuff. So a bunch of different new data sources, the exporting, a few things. In the mid-April, between March and mid-April, we'll ship some new components, some new charts, some different SDKs, a bunch of the improvements Brian mentioned to the APIs. In May, June, we'll have the Marketo and Snowflake connectors. We're going to add a Zoom bar with a time series, which will handle a little bit better our time series visualization now. And then we're also going to start looking at some data pre-processing capabilities, pre-processing. And then moving into the later in the summer, more data connectors, more interesting features. We're going to add a data catalogs capability into the product, and then we're going to be able to link to different data catalogs like Data World, Calibra, and others. And then later in the year, just again, more data connectors. We're going to add built-in chart annotations, more data science, data prep features, and then it'll be our first release of augmented analytics within the product. So augmented analytics will be inspecting metadata in the data sources for some natural language outputs, as well as allowing you to do natural language queries and things like that. So we've got a pretty robust roadmap for this year, but everything that we do is really driven from customer feedback. So you guys are all going to get a free year of the app that Casey showed. So the more feedback you give us, the more you can actually impact what we deliver in the product. So this kind of gives you a high level of where we're going. And really, that's all we had to talk about today, Hector. I think we covered the basis. We had some questions, but you know, we can answer more questions, or you know, we can wrap it up.
Any other questions? I'm actually looking at the room to see if there are any other questions. Are you guys okay? Yep. Great. Jason and Casey and Brian, thanks so much for this. It was a great presentation, and I want to thank you for actually providing us information.
And then any product questions at all, you can send to me through the email and the PowerPoint too. Thank you for having us.
Yes, thanks so much, and hopefully we'll be able to see you maybe perhaps later this year once you guys will begin doing some traveling once again. So hopefully it'll be over soon.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right, you take care and have a great night. Okay.
All right, thanks everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.